What's up, everyone? Thomas here with For Real, and it is time to wrap up TIFF. It was a wild, fun whirlwind of a festival, but as always, it was a great time. We saw a lot of great movies, and I'm excited to bring the team into this conversation so that we can talk about our experiences. And let's jump into it. First up, we've got Derrick Murray in the chat.
No time.
I love it. Bring the energy. Next up, welcome Shawn Peer to the stage.
Hello, happy to be here. Let's do this.
Let's do this. And we also have Leo Viscomi. Welcome.
I'm not going to bring the same energy as Derrick, but I salute you.
Get out of here, Linda.
Oh, you guys are great. That's a great way to start. We have a lot to talk about. There were so many good movies this festival. I was very impressed with the movies that I saw, and I know you guys have your favorites as well, and we're gonna talk about those. But first, I want to start with talking about our TIFF experience this year. This was the 50th anniversary of TIFF, and most of us, I think all of us, stayed for the majority of the festival. And so yeah, let's talk about it. Derrick, can you just give a recap of your TIFF experience overall?
Yeah, overall, I thought it was a great experience. I am an insane person, and I ended up seeing almost 90 films in total, with a bunch of movies pre-fest, and then I basically just doing an average of anywhere between 5 to 6 movies a day every single day that I was there. I love this festival. I just think it's an incredible festival. It's the best of everything that's come before it, and it really just kind of builds this great conglomerate of excellent films. So I had an absolute great time. My only complaint, and this is going to be a complaint for years and years and years, for as long as TIFF and Ticketmaster exists, I felt like this year it was probably the hardest year I've ever seen to get tickets for things. The ticketing system was just an absolute nightmare, and I understand that there is no other option. There is no other choice, if you will.
I see what you did there.
for TIFF to be able to use anything else, but I just wish they could use something else. Ticketmaster is just it's the bane of all of our existence, and it's going to ruin the world. So
yeah, I will never understand to the Ticketmaster thing. And I heard from a lot of people, it was my experience as well, that getting same day tickets was so difficult. And dude, how much do I rant about this? And it's particularly frustrating when you go to screenings and there are so many empty seats for these movies that they say are off sale.
Oh, we could talk about this for an hour. Like
we could.
We really could. There was actually one movie. So Shawn was asking, like, what didn't I see? Because I'd seen so many movies. One movie I actually took off my list, and I had multiple opportunities to see it afterwards, but refused to, was California Schemin', because I tried so hard to get a ticket, and every single time, whether it was same day, I even tried to purchase a ticket, just straight up give them my money, and it was impossible. Could not do it. I tried every single day, and my friend got a ticket, shows up, and takes a picture of a completely empty row. Not a rush line row, just a completely empty row. And I was like, well, cool. I'm not going to watch your movie on principle now.
It's a shame. I know I posted on Twitter about the number of empty seats that was in one of my screenings. I can't remember which one. Was it was just an accident? I think that's what it was. Yeah. And I just was appalled. Like, why is all these things off sale? And so look, TIFF, I am begging and pleading with you to get your own internal ticketing system. Please. I am so convinced you guys could probably make so much more money off of that than having all these empty seats when people are trying to give you money. I digress. Anyway, Shawn, let's go to you. How was your overall TIFF experience?
TIFF was great for me. I've learned to be somebody. I've learned that I'm somebody where I can't do 5 to 6 movies a day, unfortunately. So I try to pace myself, 3, 4 max. Even that tires me out. But I just love the experience, the environment, the vibes that TIFF brings. Everyone loves being there. The volunteers are amazing. They will help you. They're always in a good mood, despite working, I'm sure, very long hours, saying the same things over and over again, dealing with very frustrating people, but they love to do it. They want to do it. I love that. The screenings are always a lot of fun. The stuff that plays before the movies, it's just these small things that just make it fun to be around. And even as the festival dies down and you're seeing maybe less people around, they're just doing all these things to keep you invested and keep the high energy until the final day. And I love that. It really is a very movie loving city, and I can speak on that because I'm here year round. But yeah, it was TIFF50, like you said. So they had merch, they had signs everywhere. They were celebrating the history of TIFF, not just it being TIFF50. There was stuff about the first edition of the festival. Yeah, it was just a lot of fun. They had a lot of fun movies there this year. So it was nice. It was a very nice time. I'm already excited for next year.
Absolutely. Yeah, Derrick, go ahead and show off that merch that I'm sure you dropped coin on.
Yeah, TIFF50. Now we're saying TIFF50.
Now we're saying TIFF50. I
That's
guess TIFF50 is going to be a thing.
We're gonna make it happen, guys.
Making it happen. Leo, how about you? How was your overall experience with TIFF?
Yeah, I did not see 90 films. I saw 16, so very
There you
few. But the few I saw, obviously there was a few that were not up to par, but I just had a great festival experience. And just to echo what Shawn was saying, it's a very public festival. It feels so accessible, just in terms of, it's the only festival I can think of where I was able to fist bump Riz Ahmed on the way out of Scotiabank Theater, or walk down the street and see Matt Johnson and Jane McCarroll on King just walking normally. Like, it's there's much to say about the prices of tickets, and I could go into that whole issue. Obviously as press we have the advantage of we get these things for free, but just looking at the prices for things, that's a whole other accessibility issue. But just the fact that you're able to walk down the street and mingle with people and talk to volunteers and talk to people after the screening about what you've seen, and it's such a sense of camaraderie that I think you can only kind of experience at TIFF. So I had a blast just meeting people and talking to people about the films I had seen, and it's just a really fun experience.
Yeah, I love how just the movie community that we're a part of. It's so infectious, and like everybody's there for the same reasons, and you just get the chance to have great conversations with people. Every year I meet new people, I have new conversations, and it really opens up my understanding of this industry a little bit more. I guess just as far as my experience goes, I this is my 4th year covering TIFF in person, and I love it every time. The energy, the movies, the film community, it's awesome. But I think what I took away this year is that I really want to get more on the industry side of things. I made some really awesome industry friends, and of course I talked with filmmakers, and it's so interesting to hear more about that side of the press and industry badge that's available. So I was really interested in kind of this segment of TIFF that I have not explored, and might do so in the future. So that was kind of my takeaway. I'd love to learn more about the industry side of things, networking and meeting people on that side. Otherwise, I had a great time watching movies. I think I saw 30 on the ground. Light
Which
work.
we all know is way too many movies for Thomas.
It really is. And I didn't fall asleep on one of them. I almost fell asleep on a handful, but no, we made it work. I've learned lessons, and naps are great, guys. I'm telling you, I'm a massive advocate for naps. But we made it happen this year, so it was a really good time. So on this episode, we're going to wrap up talking about our favorite films. But before we go in, there was a note that we wanted to maybe have a little therapy session about some of the bad movies that we saw and get some of those mentions out there. And Leo, are there any mentions of things that weren't quite your vibe while you were at TIFF?
Sure, there were a couple movies. Definitely the worst one I saw was Fuze, which is an action bomb defusal bank robbery film that I had stood in line and rushed for 3 hours at the premiere to see. And before I get into any of that film itself, just to note that this was a premiere screening and there's obviously Q&A afterwards. And I would say about 80% of the audience left before the Q&A, which tells you everything you need to know about this film. It's a great premise. It's a unexploded World War II bomb is discovered at a construction site in London, and it's actually a ruse to stage a bank robbery, which is an awesome premise. But it's one of those films that it jumps around through genre. It's trying to be a comedy, it's trying to be action, it's trying to be a thriller, it's trying to incorporate some sort of geopolitical message that I didn't really get. And there's so many twists and turns that are so bad that they're shocking, not because they're good twists, but because you're not sure what the heck's going on and you're not sure the direction it's going. Also features one of the worst epilogues I think I've ever seen in a film, which another film I saw, Motor City, this year also has a horrendous epilogue. But it wasn't a fun experience. The director said I think 50% of the dialogue was improv, and it was obvious. It didn't seem up to the caliber that TIFF is kind of known for. It certainly isn't an awards player. I was talking to a friend about this, that it feels like one of those movies that would be number one on Netflix, like in a derogatory way. It just wasn't it was just not a good experience. And I feel bad for everyone who paid a $90 ticket for a premiere to see that, because I can't imagine paying that kind
I like for people to have positive experiences with movies, but I'm kind of happy to hear that Fuze was not the greatest, because I traded out my P&I screening of Fuze to see a different movie that I'll be talking about here, and it's sounding like that was a good choice. So thank you for validating my choices at TIFF. Shawn, was there anything that wasn't quite your speed at TIFF?
Yeah, unfortunately, the two that come to mind are the two that involve Charlie XCX, who I think is a very talented musical artist. But if she wants to get into the, film game, she needs to do better than her two efforts here. The first one, which was my least favorite of the festival, was Erupcja. It's a whole lot of nothing. It really is just 80 minutes of Charlie XCX and her friends just wandering around Europe, just talking, and they try to bring in this plot about volcanoes and everything, and none of it really comes together in any way. And if she wanted to go on vacation, she could have just done so. She didn't need to make a movie about it. I see the potential there, but I think I don't know if she was just scared to really put in more substance into this movie, because it's really just people talking, but nothing happening. So that was very disappointing. The next one that she was a lot less involved in, but involved with nonetheless, was Sacrifice. This movie starts off very reasonable. It's about Chris Evans, who's a washed-up movie star who's trying to get a good image, but trying to recreate a good image of himself. And it slowly dissolves into this end-of-the-world apocalyptic religion thing, and it just got way too over the top for me. I was sitting there wondering how we got from point A to point Z, because it starts off one place and you could never anticipate where it goes and how it gets there. I know people that loved that movie. They loved how weird it got, and all the credit to them if they enjoyed it. But I just couldn't get into it. It was way too out there for me. I appreciate the ambition. I think that's what you should be doing, but I think there's a line, and it just went way over the line for me. I wasn't enjoying it by the end. It just felt so directionless. Like it had an idea, and then they got to it, and they're like, well, we don't really know where to go from here. So they were just throwing in all this crazy stuff. They were throwing in John Malkovich. They were throwing in all this stuff. I don't know. It was a mess for me. So those were two that really I could not get into, unfortunately.
You said point A to point Z, and I'm a little disappointed you didn't say Z. I appreciate the mindfulness.
Down, Shawn. You're letting them down.
Yeah,
I appreciate the mindfulness for our American audiences. That's funny. Good points, though. I wish that both of those movies were things I had time for, but I'll have to catch them a different time and see how I did, because it's kind of cool that Charlie XCX showed up in a couple movies, but it's just unfortunate that they weren't the greatest. Derrick, what about you? Anything that wasn't quite your vibe?
Well, one, to be fair, Charlie XCX is one of the best parts of Sacrifice, so I'm going to need you to back off, my girl.
I love her. I love her. He's innocent.
Also, I'm just saying, we have not tried throwing billionaires into a volcano to see if it makes things better. And so I'm just saying, we haven't tried it. I'm not saying the movie makes a good case for it, but I'm just saying
don't knock it till you try it.
You know, like, let's just put some ideas out there and get some stuff on the list and see how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, if you see as many movies as I did, you're going to get some stinkers. I will say this, though. I know we're getting our grievances out early, but one thing I really appreciated about this TIFF lineup, especially seeing so many movies, is there were very few that I absolutely hated. Most of them are like in that 50 to 60% tier where it's like, you know, kind of the way that Shawn was talking about Sacrifice, where, you know, hey, this actually started really good, but then it just loses itself. Like, that's not a movie that you walk away and just feel like, hey, I hated everything about this. And so I think there's a lot of movies like that, and I think TIFF did a really good job in not really having too many movies that are just outright, you know, trash. Now, Midnight Madness slate, that's a completely different story, and that always has some risk. So I'm not even going to talk about those ones. But even to Leo's point of Fuze, where it's like, hey, this has a really good premise, and there's some things that should work. It just didn't, and it really let me down. I think that's a really, really good example of just how good the slate was this year and how good the movies were. So that being said, there were definitely some stinkers that I saw. So I'll highlight two. So one is The Fence from Claire Denis. This one, my screening, there was a Q&A, and when the movie ended, there was absolute silence.
Oh,
I mean,
No.
deafening silence. Not a single clap, not a single cheer, not a single cough. The only time anybody did any kind of reaction is when Claire Denis' name came up in the credits as it was like rolling through. And even then it was like kind of muted. And it was the most awkward ending to any film I've ever seen at a public screening, where there's just no sound. Nobody even coughed. That's how quiet this movie left everybody. And
you're just making me want to see this.
Dude,
like, what?
I can promise you do not. It's so it's from Claire Denis, who's already just kind of a pretty polarizing filmmaker. I think there is some ambition here, but this is a movie about a construction site in West Africa, and one of the natives from the village wants to collect the body of his brother who apparently died on this site. And there's a lot of controversy surrounding how he passed. And so it's kind of just them kind of going back and forth. It's very stagey. It's based on a stage play. And poor Denis just doesn't know how to convert any of those things over into something that feels like a film. And unfortunately, as much as I very much enjoy Matt Dillon, he clearly did not get the memo that they're making a movie. And every line he says just feels like the man is standing on a West End stage and just does not know how to deliver his lines cinematically. And then you have Tom Blythe, who I adore. I just don't know what he's doing here. He's off his rocker. And then McKenna Bruce, again, is just another wasted. She's fantastic. I think she's an incredible performer. But yeah, this movie was awful. Like, I genuinely could not wait to leave. So yeah, that was definitely a really bad one. And then one of the last ones I saw was Scarlett, which is a animated Japanese reimagining of Hamlet. And so this was actually my third version of Hamlet that I saw at the festival. And it was by far and away my least favorite. Just a weird, messy, it's amazing how poorly you can tell the story that's been told timelessly throughout the centuries. And they just get so much wrong here. I think the animation style, where it's like this blend of 2D and digital animation that just does not, well, it is jarring to watch. It's not even inventive. Things are like popping out of the screen while the rest is like hand drawn, and it looks atrocious. I just did not care for this one at all. So I think those would probably be my least favorite of the two. setting aside some of the weirder shit that you get in Midnight Madness.
Interesting selections. I didn't get around to either one of those, but sounds like it's a good thing I spent my time elsewhere. I'm going to point out two movies that one that I did think was really not great and I wish could have been better, and the other is a flaw in my expectations. So I saw The Choral, and I think one of the problems that I had with The Choral is that I watched The Testament of Ann Lee before going into The Choral. That is not advisable. Ann Lee is great. It was I think it's in my top 5 of the festival. Loved Ann Lee, as a musical. So then you get to The Choral, and I just wasn't quite on board with what they were trying to do with this movie. Like there's a whole bunch of messages about like adolescence and I don't know, sexual angst for some reason, and I couldn't get on board with it. I think I think it's gonna be a great, like, I don't know, TNT movie, like
Parents are gonna love The Choral. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think there's an audience for it. It's just like cable TV rerun kind of entertainment, right? Not for me. But good try, guys. And so there's that. And then the other one I had really high hopes for. I made sure I had the premiere screening of it. I was really looking forward to it. And after I got done with it, and I've had to think on it, because it's not that it's a bad movie, it's just that I think TIFF way oversold this movie to me. And it's Project Y. I don't know why I was expecting much more of an action thriller. I mean, I guess there is action. Maybe they weren't lying. They were just like really hyperbolizing everything that this movie is, because it's so laced in melodrama that I wasn't quite prepared for. I really was looking for something a little bit more action-packed, a little bit more high energy. I think that's the problem. The energy of this movie was not what the TIFF page explained that it would be. And so I'm sitting there like, when is this movie going to turn up? And I mean, there's a little car chase, and it's like, okay, cool. Is there more? And I spent a lot of this movie waiting for it to turn up to a level that it was just never going to get to. And once I realized about an hour into it that it's not going to turn up, and I still have an hour left, I was kind of done with it. Like, guys, I need to try this a different time. But I was in the middle of a row, and I didn't want to climb over a whole bunch of people.
I was at that screening, and I was on the end, so I could have left at any time.
I should have traded you seats.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons I did stay was because this was actually a sold out screening. It was a packed house, and everyone seemed to be into it. And so I'm like, okay, this is clearly a me problem. This is clearly just kind of, I'm not vibing with this, and I have to back off of how low I'm thinking of the film in terms of quality, and really kind of shift a lot of that blame onto my expectations. And that happens sometimes. So
to be fair, most of your criticisms are accurate, and I enjoyed the movie a little bit more than you did, but you're also not wrong. And there's only like the villain is the only thing that turns up to 11.
Right. Oh yeah.
So, by the way, it's so bizarre to just have this like cartoonishly villainous, over the top monster in a movie that's way more dramatic and melodramatic, that just doesn't service it. Project Y is a bizarre movie.
It really is. It really is. I just didn't know what to do with it. Like I want to like this, but like the villain was the kind of energy I was expecting for this movie. But even the villain doesn't. It's almost too little, too late, because by the time the villain like really turns up and gets super malicious, it's the second half of the movie, and I'm tuned out. I'm ready to like move on. But then this villain shows up, and it's just on a different page in a different movie than everybody else. And so I don't know, that's just me and my expectations. And I like to have this exercise where I recognize I just wasn't in the right headspace for this movie. So anyway, all right, we've gotten all those thoughts out. Let's talk about some of our favorite movies.
Can we do surprises first?
Surprises,
like, because we just did most disappointing.
Surprise.
So can we just do can we just do like the most surprising, where we were just like, oh wow, I didn't think I was gonna love that one.
Yeah,
as much
you
as
know
I
what?
did.
Let's do that, because I think, I mean, TIFF festivals are a great opportunity to find hidden gems or things that you weren't expecting. Let's do that. Derrick, lead us off on that one.
Okay, well, crap, Snuffles. No, I'll highlight a few. So one was Tuner.
Tuner.
That movie is just like a blender of my favorite things in cinema. It's basically like if you took Good Will Hunting and Thief and then put a little jazz of Collateral over there and just like blended that all up and then just gave me this movie. That's basically what Tuner is. And I mean that in the most complimentary way I possibly can. It's one of those movies I just genuinely haven't stopped thinking about. And I think one of the reasons I was so pleasantly surprised by it is not only is it comprised of some of my favorite movies, it has a great director transferring from documentary filmmaking to feature filmmaking. It also has a star-making performance from Leo Woodall, who is 100% a leading man, and I need that guy to be in more things all the time. But it's also just a movie. And I mean that in terms of like, there is no big commentary about grief and loss and trauma and tragedy. And like, it's just a movie. And sometimes that's okay. And Tuner nails that. And I just absolutely adored it. So Tuner was a massive surprise for me. Eternity, weeping mess. I saw it. Thomas and I saw it together, and
Yes.
I am not a rom-com guy. I find that whole genre to just be mostly insufferable. I can count on one hand how many of those I actually enjoy. Eternity wrecked me. I don't know how. I can't explain it. It got to the very predictable, manipulative love story parts, and I was just like, okay, all right, fine. I love my girlfriend. Massive surprise. Hedda was a huge surprise for me. Not that I'm not a huge Tessa Thompson stan, and I love what Nia DaCosta does, but I was more surprised at just how much I loved this movie. Just, my God, that woman just directs the hell out of that movie. It is unreal. And then the last one I'll cover, there's a ton of them. I mean, A Poet, there's a ton of them. But the last one I'll talk about, because I think anybody that saw it will also put this high on their surprise list, and that would be Obsession. That movie, that's a Midnight Madness movie that honestly should have just been like in the premiere, because God, does that movie rock. Just gripping, credible performances, totally creative. Just, I could not look away. The whole, you have something special in your hands when your press screen audience is starting to like react to things, and they're starting to shout and they're starting to gasp, and you can hear audible claps. That doesn't happen in press screenings ever. So when your movie can get an entire packed theater of press to react to a movie like you're at a public screening, you got a banger. That is 100% one of the best Midnight Madness movies to come out in a while. So that's my short list of surprises.
I love it. Eternity, yes, I was a weeping mess over that one too. I every time I talk to people about it, I call it a really great date movie, and I hope that they go and realize how great it is. And I should probably also recommend to take tissues, because if you are in a long-term relationship, if you aspire to have a long-term relationship, that movie it hits all of the feels in that. So good call outs there. I'm going to jump in really quick, and I'm going to mention one surprise that actually Derrick turned me on to. And this is also the one that I traded out Fuze for. And that was The Ugly. I was very impressed with the structure of the film happening in chapters, but those chapters are based on like interviews that are happening as they're piecing together. Like, it's hard to to say it's a mystery, because I think that comes with connotations like Wake Up Dead Man, but it's a mystery. They're trying to journalism and trying to piece together a story, and they're doing it through these interviews, and each chapter is a different interview, and I think that that structure was awesome. I thought the pacing was good. Like there wasn't a point at all. There's not a whole lot happening, but there wasn't a point where I was bored. And I think you get to the end, and I think it really just kind of wraps up really well too. Like I found it very entertaining and very interesting to watch and follow along to. So yeah, that was my surprise. Thank you, Derrick, for looking out. Appreciate that.
I got you guys.
Leo, how about you? What was your surprise of the festival?
I had a couple. I think Derrick will agree with me that Wasteman was great.
Wasteman,
I loved Wasteman.
Can't stop talking about it. You know what? I told everybody before the festival, get to Wasteman.
It was great.
Speak on it, Leo. Speak on it.
Yo,
I was expecting it to be a generic prison drama with a couple of great performances, because David Johnson, Tom Blythe are always great. But there's a point, and it is a standard prison drama for most of it, but there's a twist at the end that kind of recontextualizes the way I watched the film. I feel like it's one of those movies that'll be really good in a rewatch, because there are some moments that I feel like I missed or didn't catch the first time. The more I think about it, I go, oh, that's why that thing was happening. I think it'll be a really, really fun rewatch. I think it'll be a fun movie to watch with friends. There were some people in my press screening that were gasping at that twist. And the violence, there's a couple moments of pretty extreme violence in it too. That's kind of
the way the movie opens. I was like, oh my God.
yeah, pretty brutal. That was great. So I'm glad that David Johnson and Tom Blythe are getting their flowers for that one, because they're both fantastic. And Tom Blythe is really creepy and really intimidating in a calmer way, and a less and more explosive way and more calm way, which I thought was really impressive. And I know this is a big one, but Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery, I think that might be my favorite of the three that Rian Johnson's made so far. It just feels more, I don't know if cinematic's the right word. It just feels more professional. It feels like the cinematography, the lighting, the script, the mystery itself isn't that amazing, but just the social commentary about religion and politics and the intertwining of those two things. Josh O'Connor's amazing in it. He's like, this is really he's kind of already a star at this point, but this is a really star-making performance for him. It's just a really beautifully shot movie. The gothic tones of it, all the performances are great. I did wish we had more Kaylee Spaney and Andrew Scott, but they're both great in the few scenes they have. It was just a fun experience to see in a public screening. Great jokes that a lot of people in the audience were dying laughing at. It was just a fun. It's the first Knives Out I feel like deserves to be seen on a bigger screen, and I'm glad that they're putting it out in theaters for a short period of time. So yeah, those are my two positive surprises. There are a couple negative surprises, but those are my positive ones.
Yeah, let's pause. Shawn, we're going to get to your surprise in a moment, but I want to pause on Wake Up Dead Man for a second, because this was so Ethan mentioned this one as his favorite film of the festival, which is awesome. I also was very impressed with Wake Up Dead Man. I mean, if we want to, I don't think we don't technically call the Knives Out movies a trilogy now, but like if we did consider it a trilogy, like yes, this is one of the best trilogies ever, because it's so interesting where the conversations I had with people about Wake Up Dead Man, everybody kind of has it in different places in the hierarchy of what they prefer with Knives Out, but it's unanimous that they're all great. Even if you put Wake Up Dead Man as your least favorite Knives Out, it's still better than like the vast majority of movies that we watch, the vast majority of comedies and mysteries that we watch. So, kudos to Rian Johnson for, continuing this legacy of epic original storytelling and mystery storytelling. That's awesome. I was also a massive fan of how strategically it addresses the topic of religion, because it certainly has its criticisms. It's not shy about wearing its criticisms on its sleeve, but in the end, I don't think anybody walks away offended by this movie. I think it has such great care for the respect of religion, even in the face of the criticisms of the church. And Ryan is able to do all of that commentary within a very entertaining movie. Even I mean, it's what, 2.5 hours, over 2.5 hours long.
Like 220.
2 hours and 20. Yes, it felt shorter than some 90-minute movies I saw.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting. I think the last point that I wanted to make about it is this is one of those, I think that this is a mystery where you could take an educated guess very early on at who the killer is, but the why is actually very well buried to where it will only make sense when you get to the end. So you can't, like, I know with Glass Onion you can actually see the like smoking gun happen in the movie. So if you see that, you kind of know how the rest of it's going to play out or who the killer is and everything. But this is one where you have to hear the explanation at the end in order for the whole movie to make sense. And I really appreciated how well that was put together. So Derrick, really quick, you want to talk about Wake Up Dead Man?
Yeah, I think this is probably his most balanced film out of the three. When you talk about his take on religion, one thing that's striking about Knives Out and Glass Onion, which I know a lot of people are kind of out on, I still love Glass Onion. I think that movie holds up better than most people give it credit for. But there's a little bit of a mean-spiritedness when it comes to his whole eat the rich, billionaires are dumb. There's no real empathy or sympathy for any of those characters that he goes after. The family in Knives Out, like, they're all repulsive people and they all deserve everything that they get. Making fun, Edward Norton playing an Elon Musk type. Like, yeah, there's nothing good about him. He is an awful human being from start to finish, and everything that happens to him, he deserves. And in Knives Out, in Wake Up Dead Man, yes, there are some characters that are despicable. There's some characters that are greedy. There's some characters that are, manipulating some things. And it's not that he removes his social commentary, but through, like Leo pointed out, Josh O'Connor's just phenomenal. Like, that boy carries this movie in an incredible way. But through him and how he views the world and what it is he's trying to inject, there's actually a lot of respect and reverence for religion, which is just surprising coming from someone who typically takes a sledgehammer to institutions and is always going after them in the most brazen way. There's just such a care in the way that he approaches it. And I think Rian Johnson does a really good job in separating what it is he's actually trying to critique, right? It's the institution that he's going after. It's the way that churches are propped up. It's that political line blurring between church and state and how much that's kind of gotten in the way. But then he also does this beautiful undercurrent of, like, yeah, there's some really good things that they represent, and we need to remember that. And we need to go after that. And we need to kind of hold ourselves to that. And Josh O'Connor represents it. And so, yeah, I just think it's probably his smartest film in those terms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Shawn, your thoughts on Wake Up Dead Man, and then you can just roll right into what your surprise was.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I really enjoyed Wake Up Dead Man. I love the first Knives Out. I rewatched that movie so many times. I genuinely love it with all my heart. It's such a comfort movie for me, which is weird to say about a murder mystery, but it really is. The way Rian Johnson in all of these movies is able to take these original characters and write these relationships and bonds between them, and they all work out so well on paper and on screen. He's such a fantastic writer. He really gets into the worlds that he creates and brings out everything he can in them, and I love that. I love how different all these movies are in style and feel. You can make an argument for any of them being your favorite, and I can sit there and be like, I understand what you're saying. I understand where you're coming from, and I think that's beautiful. I really think it's beautiful. We don't get a lot of movies like that on this level where it's such a marketable movie. General audiences will watch them and love them. Like, people watch these movies. It's not something that we talk about on this podcast, but then nobody else goes and sees because it's in a limited release. It's an awards contender. They're just fun movies, and you can tell them to anybody what they're about, and they'll be like, that sounds very interesting. While we were talking about these movies and their styles and the way they're all separate from one another, I was thinking about Kenneth Branagh's Hercule Poirot adaptations, which are coming out around the exact same time, and they also kind of follow a very similar route in their style and their evolution and everything. And you know, those movies should have been a lot bigger than they were, I think, and they kind of fell flat. And by the end, people didn't really care about them. But the fact that Rian Johnson was able to create completely original characters and stories, and from the ground up, just create this franchise that is so beloved, and having its world premieres at film festivals, and not even being a serious awards contender, maybe beyond screenplay, is very impressive to me. I think Rian Johnson is such an ambitious filmmaker, and he takes bold risks, because he did not have to make this so different in style and tone from the other movies. It's very dark. It might turn some people away, but he trusts himself. He trusts the audience. He trusts the people that he's working with, and he does not doubt himself for a second. And I love that. And whether he continues to make these movies in the future or does something completely different, maybe he ends up making that Star Wars trilogy that he's been told he's been doing for the past 10 years. Whatever he ends up doing, you have to be excited for what he's doing next, because you have no idea what it's going to be. And even when you find out, you don't know where it's going to go. And that's just so exciting to me.
Mm-hmm.
He's the new president of the DGA, baby. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, Rian Johnson. I mean, I know people.
He's not. It's Christopher Nolan, but they all look the same. So.
Yeah, all these fine men. Yeah, but you know, it really sucks that a lot of people won't watch Rian Johnson stuff because of The Last Jedi, and you know, pushing all that aside, he just takes big swings, you know, and whether they're good or bad, we need that. We need to see that in movies. You can only play it safe for so long before audiences will stop seeing movies because they know what to expect. You want to go into movies not knowing what's going to happen, walking out and being like, that was insane. I was so surprised. Those are the best movies to watch. You know, I don't need to say that, but yeah, I love Rian Johnson. I can't wait to see what he does next. As for my biggest surprises of the festival, one that really caught me off guard by how much I enjoyed it, I knew it was going to be good, but how much I loved it, was Elanor the Great. This was Scarlett Johansson's directorial debut. It stars a 95-year-old June Squibb, and the premise is that it is spoilers, but it happens very early on. It's in the description of the movie, the official synopsis, so it's not really a spoiler, but her best friend passes away, who was a survivor of the Holocaust, and she starts telling her friend's stories as her own. She's not Jewish, June Squibb, in the movie, but she's putting them off as her own. And she's meeting friends, she's having her stories told, and you know, there's a very ethical dilemma there, because they're not your stories, but you're doing it out of good grace to preserve them, because your friend would not share them. It's, if you've seen Dear Evan Hansen, it's kind of like that, where you're pretending you're somebody you're not. It does it in a much better way. And it was a very nice movie to watch. It's very heavy in its subject matter. It does not shy away from showing somebody recount and essentially relive the horrors of the Holocaust. But it's also very funny. June Squibb is an old lady, and she is just so funny because she's not putting up with anybody's crap. And whether it's her family or complete strangers, she just wants to do her own thing. The energy she brings at this age is absolutely insane. She's yelling at people. She's I don't know. She's just great. It's so much fun. It's so heartwarming, but it's also heartbreaking, and it does a great job at balancing both. There are scenes where it starts off and it's like, oh, this is very nice, and then at the end you're like, you're in tears. And I think it was a very audience. It was a big audience winner from my public screening. I think people are gonna love it. I could easily see June Squibb getting a Golden Globe nomination for actress, comedy, or musical, and she should. She really is great. The physical the physicalness of the role. She's moving all over the place. I could not believe that she was doing all that. So that was really nice to see. Trying to think of another pleasant surprise, because that was definitely the big one for me. Eternity. You guys already said it, but Eternity has such a great premise. And my fear with TIFF, like Leo was saying, that great premise, not great execution. There was a lot that could have gone wrong with this movie, because there was so much to talk about with the afterlife and eternity and partners and romance and relationships, but it does it so well. I think it does a great job of talking about marriage, what people mean to you in life, and their roles in there, depending on, where they are at your point in your life. So I think that's going to be a big hit when it finally gets released in theaters, and you should definitely see it if you haven't.
Yeah, good picks. Those are all good titles to mention, and yeah, I'm a fan. Okay, we're gonna roll into, now that we've gotten surprises out of the way, I really wanted everyone to pick like their favorite movie of the festival, and so we're gonna jump into that. And Leo, I want you to kick it off with your favorite movie of the festival.
Sure. So I was lucky enough, I live in Toronto. I was lucky enough to be able to see a lot of the elevation screenings ahead of time so that I could have a bit more of a relaxed schedule at the festival. And the first film I saw was my favorite, and it was Just an Accident.
Yes. Yes.
Which, by the way, my review is up on the website. Go read it.
Yes,
after this podcast. It's brilliant. I don't know how much I want to spoil, but the premise is that a father and his daughter and his wife get in a car accident. They pull into a commercial garage to get their car fixed, and one of the people there thinks that he recognizes the man's fake leg walk as the guy who tortured him in an Iranian prison. And that's all I'm going to say. A lot of the movie is just is he the guy? Is he not the guy? What if we make a mistake and he's not the guy? What are we going to do if he is? So it's very much a will they, won't they film for the vast majority of the film's runtime. It's just so brilliantly written. It's such a simple premise, but executed so well. All the acting is brilliant. So much of there's no really flashy direction in it. A lot of it is very much long takes, just letting the characters talk and get their thoughts out. And each one is so individualized and recognizes their own person. I could easily identify who had a certain opinion about certain things before they even said it. There's so brilliantly realized characters. It also features one of the most effective final shots, final endings I've ever experienced in a theater. Derrick talked about how quiet a place can be after the end of a screening, and this was quiet in a way that I didn't. It was a good quiet. It was a contemplative quiet. It was a almost terrified quiet, and just it was just a brilliant film. I appreciated every second of it. I'm hoping that it gets recognized in some way at the American Awards. It was brilliant.
Yeah, Derrick had me really, really excited about this movie. And that ending, that's all I can say. Like, you get to the end of that movie and it is a very, very effective ending. I mean, what award did it win at Cannes? Did it win the Palme d'Or?
Palme d'Or.
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
Deserved.
good reason. For good reason. I was a big fan of the long takes. I'm just, in general, I like longer takes. I like being able to really kind of like just be in the moment and like take in what's going on. And that this movie does that so well. You're just really just sitting with these characters, having these debates and like going back and forth. I talked a bit earlier about a movie that's not like a conventional mystery, but definitely has mystery elements. Like, this is exactly that. You're spending the whole time wondering, like, is it not? Like, both sides make good points, but like, I just don't know, and we're trying to get to the bottom of it. So I loved it. This is a good choice. Shawn, what about you? Did you get a chance to see It Was Just an Accident?
Yes, Leo, I was in the exact same position as you. That was my first movie of the festival, and it was my favorite. And I was surrounded by people that didn't really love it as much as I did were kind of downplaying how amazing it was. And hey, that's subjective and everything, but I love being surrounded by people now that are talking about how great it is. And it was my favorite movie for most of the festival. And then I saw Hamnet, Chloe Zhao's Hamnet, and my God, what an absolute powerhouse of a movie. Where do I begin? First off, Chloe Zhao. I love Nomadland. I would defend that movie like every Best Picture winner. You know, once it starts getting, it starts becoming like the winner and a big movie, people start turning on it because, of course, that's just how things work. And 5 years out, people are like, yeah, Nomadland was a very underwhelming winner. It was COVID. I've not watched it since, but I'm sure it's still a fantastic movie, and I kind of do want to rewatch it now. Eternals is not one of my favorite Marvel movies, but I do think she was kind of pushed into a corner, doing Marvel stuff. But I think aesthetically, that movie is absolutely beautiful, and I know that is 100% her involvement and her style and her input. So I know that's still there, but I don't know. People were down in Chloe Zhao after the past couple of years of not really doing much and kind of seeing what she wants to do next. But I can't even say she's back. She never left. She's absolutely amazing. She knows how to use that camera and get everything out of actors, out of scenes, out of environments. She really pulls you in and knows how to make you so invested in what is going on, even if it's a very simple story. She really knows how to get everything. And Jessie Buckley, she gives amazing performances. This was such an emotional roller coaster. The character just goes through so much, and I won't get into, but absolutely heartbreaking. She puts everything on the floor. Like, she leaves nothing. Paul Mescal is also he's incredible. They're so good together. You would think they've been partners for years, the way they're in that movie as a married couple, or as a couple, but they were just amazing together. But to me, the standout easily, and I was shocked that I was not hearing this name before I saw myself, because I could not stop talking about him, was their young kid, Hamnet. He's played by I want to say Jacoby Jupe. I'm not sure. I apologize. He plays their kid Hamnet, and I've been thinking about it. I'm not gonna lie. I've been thinking about it, and I think that might be the best child performance I've ever seen in a movie. Absolutely incredible performance. He had to bring so much to this role. The emotion, the range. The movie surrounds him. He's the core of this movie. So if he does not work, the movie is not as effective. But oh my God, I can't even put into words how incredible he is. He is an generational talent that I don't know when I'm going to see next. He was absolutely brilliant. I just keep saying the same thing over and over again because I don't want to get into spoilers, but he is just everything about this movie that just elevates it to the next level. And in a perfect world, he would be going along with this movie for the awards and he would get nominated. He's someone that we have to look out for in the future because he better be getting booked and busy these next couple of years. I could not believe what I was watching. He is better than a lot of adult actors. I saw this a couple of days after I saw the Smashing Machine, and I know, weird transition, but Thomas and I were talking about how The Rock has these crying scenes, but every time he tries to cry, he covers his face completely because I don't think he can cry on command. But then I'm watching this kid who's dealing with a lot more than The Rock does in this movie. I'm sorry. And he's putting it all out there. And I was like, how is this kid out acting The Rock? It was insane. And and the audience, I was in a public screening, and those are always going to be more emotional audiences, but they were crying. You were hearing sniffling everywhere. And from that moment, I was like, this is going to win people's choice. And then it did. So this is going to be a big one to watch out for. Yeah, I could not believe how incredible this movie was from a technical standpoint, from the acting on screen. It was absolutely brilliant. Yes.
Yeah.
Far and away, like not far and away, because I did love it. It was just an accident, but when I watched it, that instantly became my favorite of the festival.
I would like to applaud Shawn on actually being able to get a ticket to Hamnet, because my
Yo,
God, was I
no,
trying.
I have a story really quick. Derrick,
Yes.
I'm gonna let you talk about it. It was just an accident, and then Hamnet, and I promise I haven't forgotten about you.
No, you're good.
But really quick, I have Hamnet was not on my radar. I heard, we had 3 Hamlet adaptations at the festival, and I'm like, I don't want to see one of them. Like Hamlet, I wanted to see just because of Riz Ahmed. I'm a big Riz Ahmed fan, but I couldn't fit into my schedule. I was okay with that. Scarlett, I'm glad that I missed that. Hamnet, I was at the box office. There wasn't anyone in line. And I was just like, let me just see what movie I can get a ticket for. And I was actually looking for a couple days later. And the box office person I was working with, I guess misheard me. And so she's working away at getting a ticket for me. And I'm thinking she's getting a ticket for one movie. And she goes, perfect, I got it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what did you get? And she's like, yeah, I got the ticket for Hamnet. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. This is for the Thursday screening, right? And she's like, no, it's for today, the premiere ticket. And I'm like, girl, you got me a premiere ticket for Hamnet? What? And it's so funny because she was, I don't know what they do like behind the computer in order to get these tickets. I'm sure it's like a real-time like availability chart, but the receptionist next to her was watching her do this, and like watching it was literally like 5 minutes. We were sitting there while she was typing away and trying to figure out how to get this ticket. And when she got it, the person next to her was like, oh my gosh, you actually got that. And so she worked some magic. I don't know what voodoo she did to get this ticket, but thank you to TIFF staff for your hard work. Really appreciate it. And because of that, I was able to go to the premiere of Hamnet, which is incredible because I don't know if anyone else was at that premiere, but Chloe Zhao introduced that movie with this incredible like breathing exercise and mindfulness meditation exercise that I filmed. It's on our YouTube channel right now. And it is just so interesting to be in that audience, and she just kind of has command of the whole audience, and everyone's just going along. Like this is what is Princess of Wales? Is that like a 1,200 seat
like
theater, something like that?
Yeah.
And she just has command of this whole theater, everybody doing this breathing exercise. It's quiet, it's meditative. And I'm telling you, there is no better way to go into Hamnet than this breathing exercise that she did. And I'm sure this is just something that she does, but it just happens to be a really great way to go into this movie. And so I am so fortunate to somehow have gotten that ticket, to Leo's point, because those tickets are very hard to get, especially same day. And then to be there for that premiere screening where we have that really awesome breathing exercise and mindfulness exercise that she did. And I was able to capture that. And it's incredible. So yeah, Shawn, great points about Hamnet. Derrick, I'm going to go to you to talk, give your thoughts about It Was Just an Accident, and then into Hamnet.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually work backwards. So
I'll
do
cool.
Hamnet. So one thing I did want to say on Hamnet is everybody needs to unclench and let go of your pearls because the breathing exercises are perfectly fine. Yes. And you need to get over yourself. I saw so many people eye rolling at the exercise, and I'm just like, guys, she is literally telling you are going to get wrecked with your emotions. So let's all go in calmly and do this beautiful communal unity before we engage with the cinema. If you are rolling your eyes at that, like, just look at yourself in the mirror. Like, please calm down. That's a really dumb thing to get hung up on. I get it. It's fine if it's not your thing, but like, you're literally watching an artist tell you how they want you to experience the art and where they want you to be. Like, center yourself into a place to where you can take what she's trying to give you. And honestly, I think that's just absolutely beautiful. So just wanted basically shit on everybody that didn't like that. But then yes, Hamnet is absolutely in my top 5 from TIFF. To Sean's point, I was just not prepared. And then, you know, kind of like what you were talking about, Thomas, this was the 3rd Hamlet version that I saw, and it is by far and away the absolute best. Being able to, I've been a big fan of that play for a very, very long time. I've seen most versions of it. I've memorized the famous monologue of To Be or Not to Be. I can do it on command. Like I very much enjoy that play. And only Hamnet has ever made me openly weep watching the play. Like watching Jesse Buckley watch Hamlet is the most emotional thing I have ever experienced in the theater. And it's just the movie is gorgeous. It's stunningly shot. That this is, to everybody that wants to do naturalistic lighting, this is how you do it. This is how it services the story and actually looks good. And anybody else that's not doing this, just go digital, baby, because you can't handle it. This is how you do it. Yeah, just an absolutely magnificent film. I think this has a really good shot to be the Best Picture winner. And I think this is Jessie Buckley's Best Actress award to lose. And I say that as somebody who was incredibly high on Testament of Anne Lee. And I think Amanda Seyfried should absolutely be on that category. I think there's some really, really strong lead performances, but I don't know that there's anything that can do what Jessie Buckley did to me in Hamnet. And she is just undeniable. She's so good in this movie. And then working back to It Was Just an Accident, Leo brought up a lot of really, really good points. This is a great movie to put on the top of your list. I also, to the writing that Leo was talking about, one thing I really, really appreciated is how shockingly funny it is.
That's true.
Like this,
I was gonna say, yeah.
Like this movie is dark. Like it is a dark, dark movie that constantly wrestles with morality. And you would think that people going back and forth on like, is this the right person? Is it not? The way that they're able to constantly self-doubt themselves of something that they're so sure of. Every time these people come to the conclusion that it is this person or not this person, there's a doubt that runs through them, and they have to relive all of these traumatic experiences just to make sure that they're right or wrong. And you're never quite sure as they go through this whole movie. Every single time somebody says something, you're like, oh yeah, well maybe it's not him. And then somebody else says something and you're like, oh yeah, no, it's definitely him. So you're constantly doing that. But just the way the Panahi just balances this horribly tragic, traumatic story with just some real, I mean, look, 2 of these characters are literally in their wedding rehearsals. Like they're like, one of them is in a bride's dress and he's in a groom's tux, and they're driving around Iran with a man in a toolbox. Like it is like, that's funny. It's supposed to be funny. So yeah, it was just an accident. Just an absolutely incredible movie. I was so excited for Thomas to watch this. Just because I know Thomas's cinematic sensibilities and I know what he's really into. And endings mean a lot to Thomas. You have to stick the landing. That's something that's very important to the way that he watches movies. And this was one of the first movies that I saw at the festival. I think it was like the 3rd movie I saw. And I remembered when that ending happened, I was like, oh my God, Thomas is going to lose his mind. Like this, you do not get more perfect when it comes to an ending. Oh my God. Like the last 15 seconds of this movie, just 5 stars, no notes. Like that is how you end a film. Just unbelievable. So yeah, both those are incredible picks. I think they're both in my top 5. I think they'll probably end up being in my top 10 for the end of the year. And Neon has a chance to basically sweep when it comes to international cinema. Like they could potentially go 5 for 5 with the movies that they have, and I honestly wouldn't even be mad about it. Because all of them that they swooped up are pretty much incredible, including my favorite, which was No Other Choice.
Talk about it,
bro. This movie, listen. Park Chan-wook can do no wrong. It just can't happen. And even something like No Other Choice, which I would actually argue is a little bit more mid-tier Park Chan-wook. Like, it's not even his best movie in his filmography. But even a mid-tier Park Chan-wook is still better than 90% of people making films. This man just knows how to make movies. And I love that he is constantly trying to blend his signature style of editing and writing and pacing with just taking on different topics and doing different styles. Like if you take this and even something like Decision to Leave, right? You know you're watching a Park Chan-wook movie, but there's a completely different vibe that happens here in No Other Choice. It's his funniest. It is by far and away his most straightforward. It's his most satirical. There's so many incredible things that he does here. The way that he uses that editing and uses that sound work. There's an incredible like standoff scene that happens in this movie, and I won't spoil kind of like the results of it or how it comes to be, but it's in a living room and someone is playing music and they're playing their record, and most other filmmakers just by natural instinct would turn down the sound so that you can hear the dialogue, right? It's just simple movie logic, even though nobody actually does it. No. Park Chan-wook is like, blast that shit at full volume and make these characters yell at each other because they can't hear each other and you can't hear them. And it is so funny and so well staged, and one of the best scenes of not just the movie, but honestly of the festival. I could not stop laughing. I was so invested in everything that's happening. There is not a bad performance in this movie. I know we'll talk a lot about the lead actor, and I'm sure he's going to get a lot of praise. But the women in No Other Choice, girls, like both of the women in this movie are simply phenomenal. I really, really enjoyed this one. I think one thing that the last thing I'll say on No Other Choice is his sledgehammer to the workforce economy and the way that he is kind of attacking that. I think that is so relevant, and I think that speaks to a lot of people. If you are someone who has recently lost their job or has lost their job within the last couple of years, or have watched your industry basically change into becoming an AI monstrosity, and just have watched people downsize with monopolies and business, all of those things, all of that is in here. And if you have had any of those experiences, you will relate to No Other Choice so well. I know it gets silly and I know it gets cartoonish, and there's a fantasy world that basically gets unfolded here, but the core of what Park Chan-wook is trying to get at and what he's trying to say, there are very few people that can't relate to this movie, and I think this is genuinely one of the best of the festival.
Very nice. Yes, great choice, Derrick. Leo, did you get a chance to see No Other Choice?
I did. As you were talking about this, Derrick, I was thinking that there's kind of a through line with It Was Just an Accident and No Other Choice, and that both films, you have the protagonist make this really rash decision at the beginning and then have to live with that decision and realize that they're really not cut out for what they're doing.
Yeah, that's a great point, Leo. That's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah. I enjoy. I didn't love it as much as you did, Derrick. I did enjoy it very much. I felt like especially the end credits, the ending didn't hit as hard as I would have liked. But I did love the physicality of this movie is great. I saw someone talk about, I forget who it was, talked about the main character as kind of like a Mr. Bean kind of physical comedy. Like he's really bad at what he's doing,
Yes.
and just bounces around the set and just messes up everything he does. It was a fun ride, and that whole scene with the music was brilliant. It was, and it didn't overstay its welcome too. Like that scene could have gone on for way longer than it did, and it was just the right amount of time spent on that level of humor. Yeah, I enjoyed it very much. I think I give it 4 stars. I'll be honest, I've not seen much of Park Chan-wook's work. This is only the second one I'd seen. I'd seen Old Boy actually a couple weeks before the festival. So I need to catch up, but it's such a different film from Old Boy that I was kind of expecting a much darker turn than it was, and I was kind of refreshed to see how funny and satirical and topical it was. Yeah, I enjoyed it very much.
Shawn, did you see No Other Choice?
I did. So that one was very interesting because I remember not getting a ticket when I got all my press tickets, but then I was like, I'm just gonna keep calling, keep checking, something will turn up. And as we talked about before with the ticketing system, I called every half hour for certain days. I was checking online every time, nothing was showing up. I completely lost hope. And then a friend of mine was invited and had an extra ticket. So I got to go on the second last day of the festival. It's funny. I saw a movie earlier that day, and then I went home, which is like a 40-minute subway ride, and then I'm home, and then I get a text from her being like, "Hey, I got a ticket." So I go all the way back just to watch it, and I'm glad I did because I really enjoyed it. I'm like you, Leo. I wasn't as in love with it as I wish I was. I am a big fan of Park Chan-wook, and I'm always gonna watch what he makes, but um I did really enjoy it, and everything that Derrick said about it having everything I had to say about j- um about job security and society and the way we treat people like that and everything and the future with AI and everything. I think Park Chan-wook knows what he's doing. He can really take any type of story and take his style and make something great out of it. So yeah, I'm really happy I saw it. And it doesn't come out to Christmas, which is very unfortunate for those who haven't seen it, but it's going to be worth it. It's going to be a big player during award season, I think. I hope.
Yeah.
Real quick, make friends at TIFF, guys.
Oh yes.
Like, I can't
Yeah.
tell you how important that is because most of my favorite movies and most of the biggest screenings I was able to see were basically stories like Shawn just said. Or like make friends at TIFF because the more friends you have at TIFF, the more likely you are to get tickets to things that feel impossible because some of those friends end up coming up with an extra ticket or they change their schedule and they need to offload it. Like I know I did that with Thomas.
With Roofman. I got to see. I was not going to see Roofman, but Derrick hooked me up there. So yeah.
So when you're there, just a pro tip: when you're there, make friends, talk to everybody,
and spend the entire week going, man, I wish I had a ticket for this.
Audibly expressing,
crying, I can't get anything, and just say that every single day so they don't forget. That's what I did.
I will vouch for that because I had made friends in the rush line for Fuze, and I feel like that movie would have been even worse experience if I hadn't been with a friend that I had made in line. If I was alone at that, if I was the press screening for that, oh my god, I would have left. I would have left. So I only stuck through because I had a friend there, and and it was a fun experience because of that. But yeah, make friends.
Yes, there are so many great reasons to make friends at TIFF, and you guys are illustrating the some of the great reasons for that. Really quick on No Other Choice, I did enjoy it. I do think it's going to be a big awards player. So yeah, keep an eye out for that when it comes around, because it's certainly one that I would recommend. Again, I think Derrick is the highest on it here, which is awesome. But it's kind of like Wake Up Dead Man. Like no matter how low your opinion is of it, it's still much better than a lot of the stuff that you've watched. So it's a fun one, and certainly it's an international film that I can recommend to friends that I think will enjoy it, right? Even the friends who don't seek out international films, like when Christmas comes around, it is one that I'll be like, hey, you should check out No Other Choice. It's it has subtitles. You'll be okay. All right, it'll be fine. So we have about 10 minutes to wrap up. I'm going to end with my choice, and I don't know. I'm interested in how many of you other guys have seen this one, but this was also a surprise, and also ended up being the best movie I saw on the ground at TIFF, and that was Caroline. Y'all, this movie. So Derrick, I know you saw it. Shawn, did you see Caroline?
I did.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I'm sorry.
Oh no, kicking you off. Hold up.
No, wait,
Leo, did you see Caroline?
I did not get a chance. No.
Okay, that's fine. Me and Derrick are just gonna geek out about how much.
Yeah.
I'll sit here. Don't worry.
Yo, this movie. So I like to call this my Hitman movie this year. Not that it's necessarily the same as Hitman, but it's the movie that wasn't quite on my radar, or that I kind of overlooked until everyone recommended it to me, and then it was one of the last movies I saw that then became my favorite movie of the festival. I had that experience with Hitman, and God, if this goes to Sundance, because I don't think it has distribution yet. And if it happens to end up at Sundance and I happen to almost miss my flight to watch this again, I will happily take on that burden. I loved the story here. It's definitely a Bonnie and Clyde kind of story, but the leads are so good. And I'm just spacing on the leads right now. Hold on, Caroline.
Kyle Gardner, and Samara
My
Weaving.
love.
And Samara Weaving, right?
My
Yes.
love, yes.
They just have this great chemistry together, and it's so infectious. Like they just their dynamic just works so well together, and you spend a lot of the movie kind of trying to figure out, like, where is this going to go? How is this going to end? Like, obviously we don't know. Getting away with what they're doing is tough. So how's this story going to work out? And yeah, but then there's also this part of me that was just really along for the ride and just really happy just kind of be in the backseat with them. But this is also a movie that I was a blubbering mess over. When you get to the climax of the film, I'm trying very hard not to spoil anything. It's such a great story, and I think the emotional value that happens at the climax is so earned. It's so well earned, and it has a great soundtrack. I need the soundtrack. Where is the soundtrack at? I because the music that they use is very country music, and they just picked the best songs for this movie. And so yeah, I have not stopped thinking about this movie since I saw it, and this is also again why you make friends at TIFF, to get these kind of recommendations. You can't see everything. You're gonna miss some things, but there's some times where people see a movie that just wasn't on your radar or that you overlooked, and they say, no, you've got to see this. And I know Derrick was one of the advocates for this movie. I had a couple other friends who were recommending this movie very highly, and so I went out of my way to lock down a ticket for this one on the last day, and I could not be happier. This was my decision of the festival, was to go see Caroline, and I can't wait for more people to. This is I say every year I have a movie that I just won't shut the fuck up about. Caroline is going to be that movie this year. I can't stop thinking about it. It's so good, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it again. Derrick, sound off.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you said. I adored this movie. I could watch those two fall in love all day long. Gallner and Weaving are electric with chemistry. It is astounding how well they are together on screen. And I also just really enjoyed the story. I don't mind a good meandering road trip, especially if the characters are compelling. And I don't really need a whole lot to happen if I'm invested in their journey. And I felt that way with Caroline. I loved the it's this movie is everything Focus wished it was. So kind of blending that with the Bonnie and Clyde, I think that just comes together really well. That director, and I'm just blanking on his name, his work is just so varied. There's no way you could sit down and watch his filmography and feel as though the same person made each film, because Carolina has absolutely nothing in common with Snack Shack, which has even less in common with something like Bunny Game, which I would not recommend anybody watch ever. It's basically a snuff film. So it's just wild to watch him attack different genres and attack different styles and kind of land on something that's I think he does a good job with Snack Shack that feels very much like a good coming of age 90s comedy, and then to transition into something like this that's a little bit more serious, that's so funny, but is much more about just love and cons and discovering who you are in life. And I just think Caroline is absolutely beautiful. Same Thomas, I wreck just by the time we got to that ending, I was like, oh okay, goodness. All right.
I had to get myself together because I was going from that into Wake Up Dead Man. So like,
Jeez.
Pull it together, Thomas. Pull it together. I'm literally like writing my reaction in tears while walking to Wake Up Dead Man.
I will say, TIFF this year, TIFF real quick, TIFF50. This is probably the most I've ever cried at cinema.
Yeah.
I don't know if maybe I was just tired or malnourished or whatever, but there were more movies that got me this year than I think any festival I've been to since I've started going. Just really, really emotional stuff that just, I don't know. I couldn't resist it however much I wanted to. So.
Yeah. Fantastic. Shawn, I'll give you a couple seconds.
It's so weird to watch Shawn be the detractor. I'll never get over that. It's so strange.
I watched this because I love Samara Weaving, and I'm glad that she got a lead role because she does not always get the credit she deserves. I feel like a lot of times she's underutilized. So I'm really just happy to see that. To me, it was just a very simple story that I've seen before that gets just dragged out too long for my liking. I saw where it was going. I didn't think that the guy that led the movie with her, and I'm already forgetting his name, so that's not great. But
Kyle Gardner, get it right.
Kyle Gardner, I'm very sorry. I just didn't
say his name.
Say his name.
I just didn't. I didn't think they had the best chemistry together. It wasn't working for me. I was just bored after the initial setup. I liked Samara Weaving's character. It just didn't really leave me with much. So I was disappointed because I was looking forward to it. But I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. Clearly, I'm in the minority, so I hope people go and see it and enjoy it. But yeah, just wasn't for me, unfortunately. But that that's TIFF. You're gonna get some stuff you love and some stuff you don't.
I'm gonna try to find it in my heart to forgive you for this, Shawn.
Thank you, please.
I will say the last thing I'll say about Caroline is endings. Derrick, he knows me so well, and endings are really, really important to me. And the thing that Caroline does that also Tuner does is they just have zingers of like a final line. And I don't want to give it away. You have to watch the movie because their final lines like kind of reference back to things earlier in the movie. And I love when a movie does that. When you can end on like a motif that showed up earlier in the film. I am a big fan of that. And so Caroline ends in that way. And I love that. Tuner also ends in that way, quite spectacularly, really. Just kind of this like really rousing statement at the end that calls back to something that happened earlier in the movie. I love when movies do that. And so Carolina had that, sealed the deal for me. What can I say? All right, guys, we have to go ahead and wrap up. Let's just get some plugs here for what now the TIFF's over. What do you have going on? Derrick, really quick. What's happened in words? Sorry.
Yeah,
no, your plugs.
You can check out all of my written work on nerdbot.com. I'm slowly but surely getting through actually some Sundance movies, but then also starting to get all those reviews up for TIFF. So just be on the lookout. There's 20 movies coming out in October that are mostly TIFF. And so I'm trying to get through all those while also reserving the rest of my life to watch one battle after another as many times as I possibly can. But I know, I can't wait. But yeah, definitely check that all out on nerdbot.com. And then be sure to follow me on all socials. D-Rock Comedy. It's D-R-O-K Comedy on Letterboxd, Twitter, Instagram, Threads. I don't know, whatever. But name them, and I'm probably on it. So yeah.
That sounds great. Shawn, do you have any plugs you wanna put out there?
Yeah. So I just want to say that, now with all these film festivals going on, we're officially in awards season. So very exciting time. Oscar ceremony is about 6 months away. You're going to be seeing a lot of videos from me because I'm going to be covering any major movies that are going to be having a lot of Oscar buzz, which is exciting. So look out for those videos on For Real. You can find me on Letterboxd at Shawn Peer 13. Yeah, I would say that's the big one, but also just keep out for TikTok as well, Instagram Reels, peer reviews. Follow those accounts. Keep track of what I'm watching and my thoughts, because you'll see what's maybe a contender or a hidden gem you should seek out. Yeah.
Sounds great.
Real quick, I know we got to go, but I just have to say, Shawn mentioned award season, and I need everybody to realize that this is our version of White Girls with Pumpkin Spice.
Yes,
it's so true. This is our season. This is where we thrive right now, guys.
I love it. Yep. Leo, you want to drop some plugs real quick?
Don't have much to plug. A couple more reviews should be out in For Real, hopefully soonish. I also have a couple that will be going up my other outlet, The Hollywood Handle, including hopefully that oh my god, what's the name of the movie? The new Catherine Bigelow, hopefully seeing soon. I'm very excited for that.
Yeah.
House of Dynamite.
House of
Hopefully we'll have a
Dynamite.
review out for that
That's gonna be
before
good.
it comes out. I'm very excited. Yeah, I'm on Letterboxd. My username is really weird. It's at Scottish Eyebrow. Long story. But yeah, you can find me anywhere if you want. I'm not super social media guy, so just keep an eye out for reviews if you're interested in what I have to say. And I hope that everyone gets to see all the really good films at TIFF and avoids the really bad ones.
Yes, good mention. All right, guys. Yeah, you can find all of my stuff at thisisforreal.com. For real, of course, spelled FORREEL. Still getting content from TIFF published, so that's still an effort that I'm working on. So keep an eye out there for more content. And the Vancouver Film Festival is starting up pretty soon. Oh my gosh, just swinging from one festival to another. And I'm excited about it because a lot of what I couldn't see at TIFF is playing at VIFF, and so I'm looking forward to going there. And really, my focus at VIFF is going to be to get interviews with filmmakers. So I've already done one, which I'll be getting published here soon. So lots of content coming up between TIFF this month, VIFF next month, award season after that. I always tell myself that after this next event, things will slow down, which every single time is a goddamn lie.
Nope.
And so
Because that Sundance acceptance should be coming through pretty quick.
that's
So.
true. Yes, award season November, December, Sundance January, and then after January things should slow down, in air quotes. Well, we appreciate everyone who's listening for tuning in, and until next time, this has been For Real, and we'll catch you guys at the next fest.